This podcast represents the opinions of the hosts of the Laugh Cry Club and guests on the show. The content here should not be taken as medical advice and is for informational purposes only. And because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we share is accurate, we welcome any comments, suggestions, or correction of errors. Welcome back, everybody, to the Laugh Cry Club. I am Joy.
I'm Rebecca.
I'm Chelsea, and if you're an imperfect human who laughs and cries, then this podcast is for you or a friend or a loved one or anybody, actually, because it's a human club, guys. Humans. Here we are.
If you're a human, you're here, you're in the club.
Yep.
We are actually virtual again, which is so sad that makes me cry.
So sad.
I would love to
The
record
saddest.
every episode. I'm just going to visualize that I'm on Chelsea's bed and
Yes.
just hanging out in a little circle with Rebecca and Chelsea and Kipsy and the kitties. I love that Priya came in your room and was hanging out with us. You said she hates everyone. She's so cute. She's very pretty.
She's very pretty, pink nose,
Pretty
puffy
kitty.
tail, Priya.
Yeah,
That's what Steve would call her.
pretty
Yeah, she doesn't love people. She really doesn't love a group of people. So she knew,
Yeah.
these are the right people.
She
I'm
loves
in.
the
I'm
loved
in.
the
She
energy.
loved
I
it.
love her. So we are
Yeah.
here. We're 3 licensed therapists. We've been doing this podcast for just over a year. We're so glad that you're here and listening, supporting this show. If you like the show, please rate, review, and share with a friend. That's the best way, free way to support the podcast. And we start every episode with a laugh and cry of the week. And then we're going to talk today about the power of really knowing someone, because we spent such a good weekend together and how good that felt and how we were all just kind of riding high from being with people who are just they feel like home. So we're going to get into that, and then we'll tease the topic for next week. So Chelsea, who's going first on the laughs and the cries?
Oh my gosh. Oh, well, I'm going to nominate myself because my brain is going insane. So first off, Joy, Rebecca, our other friends we had, Cheryl, Lex, and Sarah. This was a magical group of humans. When I think about us together, I laugh and I cry. But something that just came to my mind was a laugh we had on the last day that y'all were here, and Joy, you had already left. So I'm going to share this so you can live it, okay?
Okay.
So we went out to watch football, and we sang with the guy who was singing in the bar, and we ate and we partook in beverages, adult beverages. And we decided that we should mini golf. And I went to Shrimpies, which is a mini golf place, and Shrimpies did not look like it was happening. So then my big, brilliant brain was like, we're going to go to this place called The Track where you can drive those race cars.
Oh yeah, the little bumper race cars.
The little bumper
Okay,
race
okay.
car. Yeah, I made a video of this with me and Rebecca. So it was, you have to get this card, and the card, anyways, you have to put on, it was $14 a ride. So we had to add that times 5 or multiply it times 5, and then you get the card for that amount. So we go to go on this race card, and the kid who's scanning the card for us, he reminds me of Miles. He's like my son's age.
Yeah.
He's probably 15, 16, 17, whatever. We had enough to all go around the track once. So as he's ringing us up, I lean in and I look at him and I'm like, I feel like you're ringing up our card way too many times. And he looks at me, but immediately, oh God, I don't want to get him in trouble. But, well, no one's going to know who this worker is. He immediately stops ringing up our card, which means we got to race twice, and it was so fun. And I kept looking back at Rebecca, and I was looking back, and we were like children, going so fast. I was laughing so hard. It was it was
Pure joy. It looked
Pure-
so
Pure
fun.
joy.
It was pure joy. And then when we got off this, we got to go. I'm like, oh my gosh, let's see how many points we have. We got to go again on a different one, which was so
Yes.
fun. And then we even had enough points to play the arcade games, which was hysterical because we were trying to get points so we could win one of those counter prizes for our friend Sarah, whose birthday it was. So we're like, Sarah, you get a birthday gift. And we were trying, and then you get a fun size candy that's $30.
Right.
But it was
so cute.
Oh my God. It felt so good to be little. And it was so fun to see my friends' faces little. And like I'm watching Lex like playing the claw and I see her profile and all I see is like 5-year-old Lex. Like she's concentrating. And then we're like the little friends standing, we're like cheering. Okay. We're cheering like someone just hit the jackpot at a casino.
People turned around and were like, They won everything. Like we won all the prizes. It was so cool.
And we ended up with 2 pieces of candy and a stuffed animal, like a little plushie.
Wait, so did Sarah get her toy?
Yeah.
Oh, yay!
It's in her office now.
I love that.
Damn right she did. What kind of friends we would be? We would have had to buy it if we couldn't win.
Sarah, I love this so much.
Yeah. So that was my one of my 4,000 million laughs. My cry was it's been an ongoing. It started yesterday. I started writing the book that I'm writing, which is about this love story of my husband and I, our breakup, our reconciliation, cancer, my current state that I'm in now. And it's I guess, I don't know how it'll turn out, but right now it's basically letters. So I'm writing a letter to Steve, and then a memory comes up from the past that intertwines with the current. And oh my God, I felt like somebody cut open my entire abdomen and kept stabbing me. It is so painful. It is so painful. It is so painful. And I wrote 8 pages and I was really, 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 and I think I left you guys a message that I was doing that, right?
Yep.
Because I was like, I need to like let somebody know what's happening. It just, there's so much, we have 18 years of history together and we'd been through some shit in our marriage and we'd been through this illness and all these things and we've had so many blessings and there's so much beauty intertwined. And there's a lot of moments now in my current life where I say, what the fuck? How am I here? And then I tell Steve, babe, how is this happening? How is this here? And when you guys came out, we had that, right? Like I wanted him to meet you guys so bad.
Yeah.
He knew you because I talked about you all the time and he listened to our podcast and he was so supportive. Yeah. And it's just like that. How is he not here? So I am purging and I am fiercely determined. I've got to hold on. I need to hold on to all these things because we know when there's trauma, we'll start to forget.
Right.
Our brain will start to shut it out. And I'm really committed to going all in because I think if I can go all in, maybe my insane adventures too that I'm having now, current things that are like fun and funny that, show us that grief is not linear. Mm-hmm. Maybe this will be helpful to another human, but my rule as a therapist is I will never give an intervention to somebody that I haven't done for myself. So it'll be interesting to see how I continue to show up to my own process throughout this. But yeah, it was like stabbing, and I kept going. And after we hang up today, every day I'm committed. I'm just going to set a timer. I just have to do 30 minutes, hopefully an hour. Yesterday I did 2, but I'm going to keep showing up for this agony of beautiful, messy life. So that's my big cry.
Chelsea, thanks for sharing that. I feel like I am so glad you're doing this because people need to hear this story. It'll be so supportive to so many people.
Thank you, Rebecca. And I feel like I need to do it. Like I need to do it for me. Even if I'm the only person who reads this, I need to just keep showing up. There's no way I'm going to outsmart this process. And I really want to because I specialize in grief and loss and trauma. So I really want to be the exception who's like, oh, it's been 3 months. I'm good. Yeah, I'm fucked up. I'm really like life really beat the shit out of me over these last, it's had those moments, but this is a long time to have gone through. So,
That's interesting you say that around when we're in these moments, these hard times, because we know so much about it that we're like, oh, we can outsmart it and no one's exempt, even though we're like, well, maybe we can lessen the pain a little bit because of our knowledge around this. And that's That's really powerful, because I'm sure a lot of people in the helping profession are like, oh, I know so much about this, I just want to kind of bypass this.
Or do it perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so my perfect process is whatever the fuck I need to do to keep going.
Yeah.
That is my perfect process. And that's
Yeah.
what this is going to be like.
Yeah.
This is going to be the insanity of the fun, of the racetrack, of the saying yes. It's going to have, all of that is interwoven, will be interwoven in it. So the highs and lows of getting beat up, I suppose, and healing. So
I'm so proud of you for doing that. And I, as someone who has witnessed you going through this, you have been so, not that it's like a good or bad thing, like you're doing a good job, but more of just like, I've seen you do what you're saying, which is like, you know what, I'm showing up every day, and like whatever the fuck that looks like, that's the way we show up with life. That's how we have to do it, but it sucks.
yeah, it does.
And you're the living example of like, hey, everybody, I'm a therapist and we all suffer the same way. There's no bypassing this. And people will get so much out of that story. So much out of that story.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so.
And
so we'll see.
You're honoring Steve in that way. You're sharing his beautiful soul with everybody. Like, I feel like I knew him just from what you've said, kind of like you said he knew us, but I feel like that is what a gift to be able to share that with others. So we're cheering you on.
Thank you. Well, Joy, you're off mute. So,
So I get to go.
true to nominating.
Yes. And a happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, our sweet, sweet, sweet birthday girl who made the world better because she was born.
Yeah.
And she makes our lives better because we get to call her our friend. Not just a friend, but a really amazing, good, great friend. And God, 48 looks hot on you.
It sure
I
does.
loved that hike you did with your picture up. I was like, first I was jealous or envious.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be on the hike with you, celebrating you. And then I was like, God, Joy's so pretty and so like, you're an amazing human. You're an amazing human. And I wish I knew you longer, because I'm thinking 48 years is a decent amount of time to be on this earth. And how many people are lucky enough to be like, Joy's my friend. I am.
Oh,
I'm
so
lucky
nice.
enough. So let me nominate my birthday buddy.
So nice. That's so nice, you guys.
It's so
Thank
true,
you.
is what
Thank
that
you.
is.
Oh, you guys are the best. I had a great birthday. So I turned 48 yesterday. I am a twin, so I had to text my brother and say happy birthday to my brother. And I did hike Manitou Incline. For those of you who are not familiar with Colorado, or the big incline in Colorado Springs, it's 2,700 vertical steps. So it's like a huge vertical staircase on the side of a mountain, essentially. It's really hard. It's so hard when you stand at the bottom of it and you look up, you're like, how the hell am I going to get up there? But you get up there. A lot of people do it. Anyway, so my laugh is something that you guys would just kind of like be proud of, because I'm doing this by myself. It's a Wednesday. It's like, I'm not, I've asked a couple friends to do it, but they just couldn't, because obviously it's during the week. So I do it by myself. I actually was like kind of happy to do it by myself, because I was just like listening to Taylor Swift the whole time. I could put my earbuds in. I was just like climbing and happy and like taking photos when I wanted to. And so every time I started to pass, there's a lot of people who are doing this that are a lot older than me. Some people are in their 70s. You can see like a lot of retired people live in the city, like do it all the time. And there's like a Facebook page for like how sometimes people do it twice in a day. Like it's a whole community, right? But I decided that like anytime I'd pass someone that was like, I don't know, older, and actually anyone really, but I would like towards the end, especially because it's like maybe a third of the way left. By then you're just kind of taking it step by step. But every time I'd pass someone, I would kind of like look at them and be like, do you want to race? And they would
Gosh, Joy, I love you so much.
Kindred spirits, these two, these competitive women. Oh my God.
But the irony is you can't race. Like it's a joke because you can't go any faster. You can only go step by step because it is so steep. There's no way you can run. Like it's unsafe to run because the steps are like this, like vertical, right? But everyone that I passed and said that to, they just started cracking up. They were like, oh my They're like, yeah, I'll see you at the top. So that was like my joke, that I was like, okay, I'm going to just make it fun with a bunch of randos. And then at the last step, when I was reaching the top, I started recording with my phone. And so there's always like a small group at the top that just kind of like sits, takes pictures. And then there's a trail that goes behind the mountain that you get down. You don't go down the same way that you came up. Okay. So I get to the top and then I'm video recording this group of randos and I say, all right, everybody, you have to cheer for me. It's my birthday. And everyone's like, woo! It was so fun. Everyone was like cheering and excited and friendly. And I was just chatting it up with all these randos. And then I make friends with a 70-year-old guy who does this every single week because he lives in town, does this every single week. And we hike the entire way down together. Now, the route down is 3 miles long. So you're like hiking up a pretty significant incline. And then you have to hike. It's all downhill, of course, but it's 3 miles. It's like you're tired and you're just like, all right, now I got to get down this motherfucker. So we're hiking down and he is just chatty Cathy, talking about retirement, talking about life. And I'm like, I think normally in my life, I would be not annoyed, but I'm more introverted that I'm like, I don't want to just talk. But it wasn't small talk to me. Like he was very just like joyous and happy and like it didn't bug me. So we just like became besties. And then he's like, hey, do you want to pass me? I noticed you're trying to go a little faster. And I said, well, I just got to get back because I noticed the time and I kind of wanted to like get back. I had like a little bit of work to do. I didn't really schedule much meetings, but I was like, I kind of wanted to get home and eat some food. I was getting pretty hungry. And he goes, well, I'll show you a shortcut down. I was like, what? There's a shortcut? He's like, yeah, it's where the marathon run comes in.
There's an elevator, actually.
Yeah.
You didn't know it.
So he shows me, and I wasn't like fearing for my life. He wasn't going to like murder me on this like empty shortcut. He shows me this shortcut, which was probably like a half mile shorter down, like got down way faster. And then we just said goodbye and like went on our merry way. And I was like, that was my like cute little birthday senior guardian angel. And it was like the cutest interaction, totally made my morning. So that was kind of like my like fun birthday wish laugh. But I also have to say, and I think we mentioned it last week, but I still cannot stop laughing at how at the end of that kayak, Rebecca and I stood for about 20 minutes emptying my kayak with full of water. That I actually kayaked across that body of the lagoon.
Joy went across Little Lagoon. Her and Rebecca were racing, and Joy's was rapidly filling up with water. By the time we went back, she was sideways. Like her kayak was going to sink. Rebecca, being competitive, thought she was a winner. She was not. But it was an unfair rigged race on accident.
But Rebecca was so kind. She didn't want to scare me.
I didn't want to scare her.
She stayed behind me the whole way back. And I was like, you can go ahead. Because there's this part where, and I couldn't control my boat because it was so full of water that I was getting so frustrated. I was like, Rebecca, you can just go ahead of me and like, I'll see you there. And Rebecca's like, no, I'm just going to hang back. Go ahead. And when we get to land, Rebecca's like, I just stayed behind because I was really worried I was going to have to save you.
It was because you couldn't see it. The back of your boat, the actual water was over the top of your
like
boat.
The butt of the boat was, down. I was just like submerged.
It was submerging. So I'm like, I'm going to hang out here. No, go ahead.
And you don't want to scare me and be like, you're sinking like the Titanic. That's a good friend right there. So
I could have started singing Celine Dion to you.
I mean,
at that point.
It was almost to that point.
My heart will go on without you.
But the
oh my God, that made me so sad.
Jack, come back. Like when we tried to get that kayak out of the water, like I don't think anyone but two High Rocks finishers could have done that. But because it took an act of God to get that full kayak out of the water. And then we lifted it on its side and held it there for about 20 minutes. I'm not exaggerating. And it was just pouring water out of it. I was like, I can't believe I made it.
Is that weighed like 300 pounds is pulling it out of there.
Yeah,
and
that's how much
had
it
to pull
felt.
It up I would say like a 5-foot embankment out of the water.
Yep.
Like, I don't know how he did it.
I don't know how he did it, but that was so funny. I look back at that, I'm like cracking up. That was such a good memory. Okay. My cry really was just yesterday as my birthday. It feels so good to get all your birthday messages and people just reaching out and celebrating you. it always makes me cry because you just kind of like live your life. But it, coming off of this weekend where we're like talking about living each day to the fullest and like you never know what's going to happen. Like last week we were talking about that on the podcast and talking about Steve and how you're like, I never knew this was where we were going to be. You just never know. And so just being in that, also that energy and coming off of that weekend and just sliding into my birthday week was just such a great reminder of being grateful for, I have such good people in my life and how grateful I am that we're doing this podcast. And it was really sweet. I mean, this will kind of parlay into like power of really knowing someone, but I was talking, every year my mom calls me and she tells me my like birth story where she goes, all right, you were born at 11:03 p.m. So technically you're not 48 until 11:03 p.m. Central Time because I was born in Minnesota. I lived there for like a second, so I don't really I don't like claim Minnesota. But the sad thing that I always, like, as you're older, you kind of like think it's so much differently, especially being in therapy, being a therapist, that when we were born, being twins, we were in a very small town. We were actually rushed because they didn't have the technology to take care of premature babies. We were a month early. When we were born, we were whisked away to the major town. I think it was St. Paul, hours away. And my mom didn't see us for 5 days after we were born. And I'm like, wow, that always astounds me. So I was kind of like overcome with emotion because I'm also like, this explains a lot to me where I kind of have this sometimes very like hesitation of getting close to people. And I'm like, I wonder if it has of course it has something to do with that, where you're like whisked away from your mom at birth. And so we'll talk about that in a second as far as like letting people in and being close to people. But all that to say is I'm just grateful for this year. I feel like 48 is a great year where I feel you have no F's to give. That's kind of like really solid at 48 where I'm like, wow, I really feel, and also I think this podcast has helped a lot with that too, or not to say like F everything, but more of just like, don't worry about the small stuff and like really stepping into your pure self. And also just really giving back has been the vibe that I'm feeling, is staying out of my head and living into service, kind of Chelsea, what you talk about with when you're feeling down. So that is my laugh and cry.
Joy, I love that. There's so many things with birth and being separated from parents and attachment, and we can talk about that at some point, but what you're saying makes a lot of sense from the psychology lens. And to your point with this podcast helping you, I feel like if we looked at like a year from like when we first started as opposed to where we are now, we've all grown and changed. I remember like when I was the only rando lover.
Yes.
And
true.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And then we like talked through it, but this goes into the power of knowing somebody and vulnerability, which we're going to talk about, which is like accepting influence, which is about how we grow and change in these really safe spaces. But I love that on your birthday where you get to reflect and be like, what's different from a year ago to now? And I hope we're all continuing to do like what Joy is, like getting a little braver, getting a little more, not fuck you, but how many fucks do I want to give about something that doesn't actually matter, that I can't actually control, right? So we have these things. But anyways, these are little seeds that are happening in my head. I'm popping out.
It's so
popping
great.
out because we got to get to our next laugh cry.
Rebecca, you're up.
Oh, goodness. My cry. What an amazing weekend. I have had the biggest problems adjusting to my life. Like I have woke up
going back. Do you mean coming back from all of us visiting?
Yeah. I have woke up every morning like really depressed. And it's like, gosh, it's been really quite a struggle. So that's my cry. Like, I miss you all. We had so much fun. We had so much fun.
It was a magical weekend.
Completely. Yeah. That's why I think part of it made me think about this topic of the power of really knowing someone, that we all knew of each other, right, for years. And I met Joy once. We did an event together, and then I met our friend Cheryl once for coffee. But like, I have really close friendships with this group of people, but never met in person. And it just shows you, like, if you allow the space to know someone, what can happen. It can be really magical. So my cry is like, trying to get back in the swing of things, because it was just like, it was so amazing.
That's how I woke up. The day you all were leaving, I was so sad. And I was devastated that I couldn't drive you all to the airport because my daughter, Char, was sick and she had to go to the doctor. And I'm like, this is how much I love them. I'm sad about not driving to the airport. Wow. That's love, guys. Hey, that's love. Just if you're questioning love, just think, do I want to spend an hour and a half in my car dropping off humans and saying goodbye and feeling that sadness and then driving back by myself and also feeling sad? Yes. It was worth it to have that extra time. So that was really sad.
My laugh has to do with I had a dental appointment, like, your cleaning that you go to. And this was a different hygienist than I typically go to. And she was very chatty, which I don't know. Do you really want to talk while your mouth's wide open?
Never.
I personally don't. But
I don't get it.
But she was like really chatty and about like explaining every process, which I get. Cool. It was time, like every 5 years you have to do like major x-rays of your teeth. I think it's like 18 different shots that they do. And they always put these obnoxious things where you like this thing and you have to bite down. It's really awkward. It always jabs into my fucking gums.
That piece of plastic.
That it's like a square piece of plastic in your mouth. Like, can we not make something better? So like 18 different times I have to do this. And each time she's putting it, she's like explaining, like, I'm going to start here, blah, blah, blah. She's doing her thing. And every time she's like, oh, she'd put one slide in. She's like, oh, that's fantastic. That's a great shot. It's like every time there was like a pep talk that she was giving me. And so she would move to the next one. Great job. This looks fantastic. Okay, now we're moving over here. You're doing so great. This is so good. These are excellent shots. So great. These are wonderful. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I'm totally crushing this, like today. And then she turns her back to me and she's like, you have done such a good job for somebody that has such a tiny mouth. I was like, what? I was like, oh, I have a small mouth, which I already know this. She's like, yeah, you do. And I was like, yeah, I know. It's always really awkward to get those things in there. But then later on in this conversation, she's talking about my teeth. She's like, yeah, you have tiny teeth too. And I'm like, well, I said, I guess that makes sense if I have a small mouth. She's like, yeah, you would look really crazy if you had big teeth.
Like the most rando commentary I've ever heard.
It was so great. But like, I was like, okay, I felt like there was no shame. I felt really great. Like, okay, I have a small mouth and look what I just crushed these x-rays. Because she's like, most people can't fucking do it.
You crushed those x-rays.
I crushed it.
Yeah, you did.
Because it's a competition.
Way to
I'm
go.
like, I'm competing with all you other small mouth people out there. I'm not going to complain.
Queen of small mouths.
I am crying right now. I'm crying.
So yeah, that was hilarious. It's like, I already knew this about me, but for her to affirm it I just felt really seen. And then on my way, because we had talked about something, she knew I was a therapist, and on my way out, I'm like collecting my toothbrush, just collecting myself after laying down. And she's like, I want you to know.
Hold on, your prize for winning? Rebecca was collecting her
toothbrush.
Prizes. Yeah,
yes.
And then what she
I got to get in the treasure box.
Sorry, I had to throw that into
No, I love a good treasure box. She's like, by the way, I'm a proponent of therapy. And my 3 children have all gone to therapy, and I've gone to therapy. And she's like almost 70. And she's like, I was like, oh, that's great. And she's like, but my ex-husband always said therapy's for losers. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe that's why he's your ex now. And she's like, yeah. And then I'm like, congratulations for doing you and like being rid of that. Because apparently he's been married 6 times, she said. I'm like, good for you.
Do we die at the things that we find out about people in the rando experience? Because this goes into where we're going today. The power of knowing somebody and vulnerability. Mm-hmm. We all want to be known. Mm-hmm. And that requires vulnerability. And sometimes when there's the rando, like Rebecca's rando hygienist, this person felt comfortable disclosing. I mean, that's a pretty big disclosure, right? Ex-husband,
huge.
Called him a loser, married 6 times, right? But in that moment, it's like, what do I have to lose? I'm just going to share it with this person because I may or may not ever see them again, right? So the power of knowing somebody is self-disclosing, being vulnerable over and over and over again. Because how many times are we vulnerable? And I do this. Here's my visual. I want to take my hand and slap it over my mouth and be like, don't say that. Because you're afraid. I'll speak for myself. I can be afraid. It's not as much anymore, but especially when I was younger, I could be afraid of what is this person going to think about me? Will they still like me? Will they still want to be my friend if they actually know these things about me? Because we all have things about us that we don't want other people to know. But God, when we know them and you're loved anyways, we heal. Did you all know that? We heal.
Yes, we do.
So let's talk about it. Let's open it up. Let's talk about it.
Let's do. I feel like a deeper understanding allows for us to reduce assumptions and misunderstandings of each other, right? It also builds empathy and compassion as well. And when we do that, it just creates like stronger, more authentic relationships with each other. And we all have the choice to be open and vulnerable with people or not. Like anytime any of us have met a rando, we could have just locked it down and kept it surface. But by just sharing something a little bit about yourself, it allows for this really great human experience. And I can attest to it. Like from this weekend, it was like the sum of all the ingredients. I was thinking about it. I was writing about it earlier. And I'm like, I looked at it as I've known all these people for 4 or 5 years now. Would it be fair to say that? Some of us?
It's probably at least
some of
4.
us shorter, but some longer. And you can have a relationship like with distance, like video chats, phone calls. It's like, I never met you face to face, Chelsea, ever. But I've known you probably the longest. Actually, you and Joy are probably the longest I've known each other. In that I was looking at it as we all are like these ingredients, and we all bring you have all these different ingredients, and we brought them in together, and we created this like Michelin 5-star dessert because we were all together. Like that's the sum of all the parts. Like you get really beautiful things when you allow yourself to be vulnerable with other people.
And now I'm crying.
You're a 5-star dessert. Actually, we all are together, like, because apart, you're not. Like, but when you have such beautiful connections with people and you allow just to be open and share yourself, you will never, I don't think you'll ever regret it, because I have never had such an amazing weekend with people I have never met in person, ever.
Isn't that funny? Yeah.
Joy, I don't even think you knew Cheryl.
No, I didn't know Cheryl at all. I had never seen a picture of her. Like, and you
were just like, who are you? Like, okay,
yeah.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
But like, it's all these different ingredients, and they become like the sum, and it makes it something beautiful. And I'll say too, like, maybe it's not always easy to be vulnerable because one, maybe we don't have psychological safety. So I feel like that's kind of like, you have to have that safety with others, and maybe you all can share, like, how do you feel like we get psychological safety with other people so that we can become more vulnerable and share?
Well, I think,
and what is it?
Yeah,
what is psychological safety?
Gosh, well, I'll speak for myself. Let's take this weekend, for example, because, I have grown up my whole life of like having like a small group of people who've like known me. You have like different pockets of friends. Like you have the friends who've known you since you were a baby. I have a friend from Arizona who's literally, grew up next door since I was 1 year old, and so you have like that type of bond with someone who truly, truly knows you. But I think, and then you have friends from like high school, and, like they know certain parts of you that I think really develops that trust of like, oh, I don't have to put on any guards here because I've already crossed that threshold of like, you truly know me. I really trust you. And then developing psychological safety, maybe even talking this to people about like making new friends, because I've heard a lot of women especially, and I'm sure this goes for all genders, but like how it's harder to make friends as you get older, like new friends, and so I'll just take this weekend, for example, like kind of walking into it is like, I've already developed a very strong bond with the two of you. I know Lex from work. I knew Sarah from work, but I didn't really hang out with them. I met them both, I think, once at the offsite. But for me, it's like, I kind of like group everyone together. It's like, oh, if Rebecca and Chelsea love this person, then I'm going to love this person, because I already kind of like know the vibe of, you're not going to just like bring someone then that's not safe, I guess. So, and I also think it comes down to me being able to trust myself of letting people in that I just have a really good sense now of who I vibe with and who I don't vibe with. Going into this weekend too, I'm like, this is all about just us kind of getting together, giving Chelsea a lot of hugs, being very kind and loving. And that was just that was the energy. That was the energy. It was fun. What was it? Fun, flirty, and something. Fun.
We had to be a 5-star.
Five stars at all times. 5 stars at all times.
The vibe dipped below 5, we stopped and we pivoted.
We reevaluated.
And we did something else. Yep, we did.
Yeah, that was the boundary. Was if anybody feels below a 5, then we need to have a conversation to get us back to a 5. Yeah. Now, I will quantify. This does not mean that any of us avoided vulnerability. It did not mean that we didn't cry, right? There was conversations where we cried, but the crying is still a 5 when you have the psychological safety. And the psychological safety, for me, means that it's okay that you can see all these parts. Mm-hmm. All these parts. Mm-hmm. You can see the crying part. You can see the part of me that doesn't know. We asked each other brave questions that we had about different big topics, right? Like, hey, I've always thought about this. What do you think, right? We were able to have the values, and I think this is where psychological safety is the values are the tether. And this group, the values were that brave conversations are welcome, that assuming good intent when somebody says something or does something is just an automatic assumption, right? Rather than an automatic critic, it's an automatic, like, you're a good human and I believe that this is good.
Yeah.
And then I think there's also when we share the tender parts of ourselves that we judge, right? Like some of us might judge, and I'm not saying like this, like too much, too loud. This was a loud group.
Yes.
This was a energetically contagious group. That could have been for another person, like, ooh, don't show ourselves. That's too much.
For sure.
But we were all committed to really just fucking enjoying each other without thinking about what other people thought, what other people did. And we were all in that common thread together.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we look at this vulnerability. If you want to know me and I want to know you, there does have to be that you test, right? We've been testing each other for years, especially because we met at work.
Yeah.
Where it's
Good
like,
point.
That's a great point.
At work, like, do I say this? Is this person going to be okay to hear this?
Right.
Is this unprofessional? Can I do whatever? But you do start to have a knowing joy, to your point. You do start to feel the vibe of, like, energetically, does this person, how does it feel? How does my body feel when I'm with this person?
Right.
That's how I know if I'm safe.
Yeah.
It's almost like I don't need to know all the other stuff. We don't need to agree. We don't need to have the same opinions. How does my body feel? And my body will put up a fucking wall and be like, you're not knowing me.
Yeah. It's like
interesting, right?
It's so interesting, and also just feeling like, speaking to like the loud piece where we were being like, everywhere we went, we were just so loud and laughing. That to me is, I was so fully present, I didn't even notice, like, well, because I laugh very loud anyway. So I was like, I didn't really notice. Like we were just having a great time, and I could see if we were like in a library, but we were. We were at bars, you know what I mean?
When we arrived at the bar on was it Sunday
in Floribama?
It was at the Ice House. Chelsea comes in and is like, "Why is this place like a library? Why is this like a library in here? It's like a library." Yeah, and we changed it.
The bartender looks at me and he's Frank. And Frank goes, "Why does your face look sad?" And I'm like, "Because I brought my awesome friends in here, and why does it feel like a library?" And then all of a sudden, people were watching football, and there was like a tackle or something. I don't know anything about football. There was something, and all of a sudden, the bar starts roaring, and I'm like, got a big smile. There we are. Okay, we'll stay. Okay, great. We're there.
But yeah, I mean, it's
but you feel it, right?
You feel it, and you're so fully present. And I think that it's so individual, like you said, Chelsea, how you feel when you're around people. You also, it's a trust within yourself, because I trust myself now. And I'm also confident within myself now, where I'm not bringing my insecurities to you. Of course, like if I had to have a discussion about something like, hey, I'm really feeling insecure, like that's more of a discussion, but I'm not what we call it, like getting it all over you. You know what I mean? Like that's when, when, at least for me, if someone's kind of like getting their stuff on me type of thing, like if they're projecting projecting. Like no one's projecting. They're like, whatever. But I think that it's just a psychological safety piece of I trust myself to know if I'm feeling A, B, and C and I'm not feeling comfortable. I never felt that for 1 second. And I don't let myself around, friends that I'm really close to. And I think that's another like deeper layer that if you ever get to that point, you then have the safety with one another to have a talk about it of like, can I check something out with you? But I don't know. I just think like for myself, I've always had this, it kind of goes to what we were saying earlier, like being born and like taken away from my mom. Like I think there's been times where I was always the child that was very weary of strangers. I was like, I wasn't warm to strangers. Like when people I didn't know came up to me and wanted to talk to me, I was like, I'm doing the like stink eye where I'd be like, who are you and what's your deal? Always been like that. So I think, I'm not like giving people a stink.
Hold on in a minute. I'm going to interrupt.
Yeah.
Because what I hear you saying, Joy, is as a child, we organically are feeling out for safety.
Yes.
And then we learn to ignore that. This person's nice. What?
Yes.
Go say hi to them. Go be friendly. We learn to ignore what our body is feeling when our body is saying, is this person safe? Do I need to warm up to get more information to know if this person is safe? So as kids, we have that. I think there's nothing more authentic than a kid being like, I don't know if I want to go with that person. And it's like, okay, so we know that there's lots of different, I'm not saying the person's a creep. I'm saying there's lots of different things, but we want to pay attention in our body. How do I feel after I'm with this person? Mm-hmm. How do I feel when I'm with them? Do I notice that I'm biting my tongue and not saying something that's true? Do I notice that I have a boundary that this person's crossing, right? Because people cross boundaries all the time. And you might state your boundary and then they're still pushing. That's not a safe person.
Yeah. Can I give an example of like someone that I actually like, I'd say in the past year met like a new friend and I immediately was like, nope, this is not a person for me. Because I think it's easy for us to talk about like what works for us because obviously like we had such a great weekend. But like just an example, this is just for me, but I had someone like in the past year, like I said, reach out and say, hey, do you want to get together? And I'm going to be very vague just in case they listen to the show. I don't think they do, but it was like, do you want to get together? And I was like, sure. And there was like, it was like, I'm usually like really open to like get to know people. So I'm never going to be like doing the stink eye child thing at first, but I'm like down for getting to know people. But I immediately just like for comments that they made about like me and my life and like just things like it had just happened after my move. And I was like, oh, that didn't sit well with me. It was like a gut feeling of like the comments that they made about my situation and just like, I don't want to go into details because but it's just like, it made me feel really uncomfortable. And I was like, ooh, those red flags popped up right away and it didn't jive well with me. And instead of giving it another chance, I just didn't want to. So I just like shut it down.
You called it.
Yeah, I called it. Like never saw them again.
I think that's what's great too about being an adult that is healthy, that you choose where your energy goes, right? And then you can very quickly determine like, nope, I don't need to push this further. Like I think when we're growing up, we have parents or other adult figures that keep trying to push us because I think in their mind they're thinking like, oh, I have to help this little kid grow, right? But I don't think we all have to be pushed. Like kids actually know a lot if adults would just listen to us. And it's like one thing I saw, Chelsea, with you and your kids that I feel like you probably have always been in tuned with them and you have conversations with them and where they can make their own decisions. And you're not like pressuring them to do something different. You're not shaming them to do something different. And I think a lot of us growing up earlier in life, and just because I know parenting has changed, right, through the years. But a lot of us probably when we were growing up with this, like, we've got to push our kids to do better, be the best, do the thing, go to college. Like, yeah, you're going to go, you said you wanted to go to dance class. Guess what? You're going now. And even though, you may not have, you had red flags as a kid and you're like, okay, this isn't for me, but you can't quit, right? Nobody would let you quit. And it feels so amazing I still have healing to do, but to have healed like that inner child. And I think it was very present for all of us this weekend. It just shows like if you heal that part and we just let our inner, it was like little kids, like little 7-year-old, 8-year-old little girls having a good time, playing, cracking up, making stupid jokes, having a great time, hugging on each other, loving on each other, sharing experiences. And there was none of that shame. Nobody was shaming. It was like, this is what happens when you allow yourself to just be wild and free. And there's nothing wrong with being wild.
Oh, I love that so much, Rebecca. Before we wrap up, I wanted to just share with you both that I had just like epiphany. I was like, oh my God, I had a corrective emotional experience and I didn't even know it this weekend. It's such a longer story, but the short is like my whole life, because I grew up in a Mormon town as a Catholic girl, because and I know a lot of people probably feel this way as far as like being the outsider. A lot of my experiences with friendships is like, I'm the outsider. Like I'm the one that's kind of like, Joy's the weird one, or like Joy's this, or like everyone's doing this, but Joy's doing that. Always, whenever I'm with a group, it's like, you name it, it's like Joy does this, or Joy goes to bed at 8, or Joy doesn't do that, whatever. It was like, I've always like kind of ousted myself in terms of like, I'm the different one. And I'm like, wow, I did not feel, if I even started to feel like that this weekend, because I'm like, I do that. No one's doing that to you. I do that. And so this weekend, I was like, whenever I started to feel that way, I was like, no, that's old. Like, you're fine here and you are safe and everyone's loves you. And I completely felt that, even if that like old thought would pop up. And I just realized, I was like, wow, that was a corrective emotional experience. So thank you for that.
Oh, I feel the little kid stuff, the corrective emotional experience to my soul. And I want to wrap us with some food for thought. When we're looking at vulnerability and we're looking at feeling psychologically safe, one of the things you can think about is, in this group, do I have permission to take care of myself? Do I have permission to go upstairs and take a nap when I need to rest? Do I have permission to say, good. I love all of you so much, and I have to go home and meditate and reconnect with myself? And nobody in this group is going to find that offensive. No one's going to find, and I had this when I was like, the next day, Miles had a jiu-jitsu tournament he last minute signed up for. And I was like, oh my gosh, I really want to watch him. And my friends are here for like 35 seconds. And so the little kid in me was like, oh my God, are they going to be mad like that I'm not going to be up bright and early? And when I texted the group and I said, Miles has his jiu-jitsu, and then I think I called my contact, Rebecca, the spokesperson for the group. I called her. And I was like, or she was my point person. That's what I could I tell her, you're my point person. I'm just going to call you. So I called, and the response from the group was something like, well, what time are you available?
Yeah, like, we'll just come over whenever. You tell us when we'll be there. And we just hung out at the house. We went and got some coffee.
Psychological safety. Yeah. Nobody was like, wow, we flew all the way out here and now you're going to go do this other thing. Like,
no, we were like excited. We're like, good for Miles. Go be with him.
That's right.
We'll see you at 11. Yeah.
But that was the green flag, one green flag of many, of I can take care of myself, because this group isn't going to judge me. They're not going to say anything about it. They're going to say, yeah, take care of you, do whatever. And we all did this. We all took breaks of not going somewhere one time, or taking a nap, or drinking or not drinking, or I need physical exercise, or I need to eat a certain dietary thing. We all honor that. And nobody was like, we were all accommodating to making sure everybody had their own needs met, which then in turn, we all got to meet each other's, which is just amazing. So we do have a hard stop. So Joy,
but that was so good, and I just like every episode, Rebecca? I'm just like so full of love and joy for you all. So listeners, thank you again for being here. Next week we're going to talk about curiosity, and I love that discussion. I love talking about being.
Oh my God,
I love talking about being curious. So we'll talk about that. Again, we so appreciate your support of this podcast. You can rate it and review us on any podcast app that you're listening on. That's a really great way to support the show. So we would appreciate you taking the time to do that if you haven't already. Reach us at Laugh Cry Club on all social media, and laughcryclub@gmail.com if you have questions for us. And then until next time, we love you so much. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
That's life, baby.